Y'all, I have been so excited to make this pattern. I bought a drafting book specifically for dog clothing. I don't even think my dogs will wear them, but I really just desperately wanted to make a raglan for dogs. So here we are, and it is one of our holiday freebies for 2022. For this particular pattern, the Doggone Raglan, you're going to need a few pieces. This is the bodice piece. It's actually the back or the top. So the top of the dog, their back. This is the chest piece. We've got a neckband. We've got 2 sleeve cuffs, 2 sleeves, and then a band for the bottom of the pattern. And let's get started. We are going to take our back bodice piece, and with it face up and with one of the sleeves face down, we're going to align them along the sleeve opening right here. And we will go ahead and sew a 1/2 inch seam allowance along that. It's sewn. And now we're going to repeat the same thing with the other sleeve, with the sleeve face down and the bodice piece face up. We're going to align it along that sleeve opening and sew a 1/2 inch seam allowance. All right. And now we are going to attach our chest piece of the bodice, or, you know, the bottom basically of, of the pattern. So if you want to lay that out with right side up, and then grab your other piece that you have here, and we're going to align the sleeve along the sleeve opening and sew 1/2 inch seam allowance right there. We're just going to repeat on the other side. So we're going to locate the sleeve, and here's our chest piece again, and we're going to align these edges and sew with a 1/2 inch seam allowance. This really is the same construction as what you do for like a raglan tee. It just looks a little funnier because it's shaped like a dog. So what you'll have now is kind of a circle. So you've got your 2 sleeves, you've got your chest bodice piece right here and your back bodice piece right here. And we're just going to be folding everything in half and matching all of our seams to each other. So we're going to fold our sleeve in half. We're going to match essentially like the bottom of the sleeve, the armpit, and the side seam here. And we're going to do it on the other side also. So we're going to, well, let's go ahead and just do the one side since it's easier to show you that way. So we're going to, again, we just took, it was open with the right sides together. We're just folding it in half and matching our sleeve to our sleeve. And so it goes from hemline to armpit to bodice, side bodice right here. So is all we're going to sew. And we're going to repeat that on the other side here also. So we're just going to match up our sleeve to itself, fold it in half, and we've got that seam right there. And then we're going to match our side seams, and we're going to sew with 1/2 inch seam allowance, like on every part of this pattern, from here to the point to the bottom. All right, it is starting to look like a little doggy shirt. So if you want to flip it right side out, we can see it. Here, we'll take a look from the side here. So we've got our sleeves, we've got our back piece, we've got our chest piece right here. And so we just need to add bands to everything. We're going to add a neckband, we're going to add 2 sleeve bands, and then the bottom band that goes around the whole bottom piece. So to prepare our bands, all of our bands are going to be done the same way. This is the bottom band. And if you lay it out with the right side up, we're going to fold it in half. We're going to meet the 2 short ends together. So we're going to fold it like this and see how these short ends are together. And we would sew along this with a 1/2 inch seam allowance. You also can, if you want to, flip it and fold it in half one more time, and still this short end is where we're gonna sew. This is my little band trick that I like to do, and it just gives us 1 seam instead of having to sew it together twice. But if you want to, you can just fold it in half. So we're gonna go right sides together with your band, meeting the short ends. And you can sew right here, and then we'll flip it into a tube, or you can do my little trick and fold it in half again and just sew this short end right there. See how we've sewn just this short end, and we've got kind of this floppy piece out here? All we're gonna do is if we just flip it right side out, it saves us one tiny little step, basically. So we're going to get all of these band seams. We're gonna get these band edges all aligned to itself so it's all folded in half exactly. And we're gonna go ahead and just mark all of our pieces now. So here is, again, we just did the bottom band. We're gonna do all the other bands in just a second here. So this is our seam that we created, and so this is our halfway mark. We're gonna just mark it right there with a pin or a clip. And then we're gonna fold it the opposite direction. We're gonna match the back seam and the clip that we just placed to each other so we can find a quarter point on this band also. There's a quarter mark, and here is a quarter mark there also. We're gonna set that aside, and we're gonna work on our neckband and our 2 armbands doing the same method. So here's our neckband. We're just gonna fold it in half, right sides together with the short ends meeting each other. I'm again just gonna fold it in half and put one seam right there. We've got it sewn. We're just going to flip it right sides out and get all of our raw edges aligned to each other. A little trickier. I'm just going to mark the halfway mark instead of the quarter points because it's a pretty small band. But here we are with the neckband. We do the exact same thing with our armbands. So fold it in half with short ends meeting to each other. And there we go. We're gonna do it on this one as well, just get them done at the same time. And we're gonna sew here and here. We've got our bands done. We're just gonna flip them right sides out. And these are the arm bands. You can do the sleeves. You can put these bands on the flat and then sew them together. I prefer to have the band completed before I attach, but it's just a preference. I know with the small dog sizes here, the bands do get a little fiddly, so if you need to, you can always attach them on the flat. But here we are marking the halfway point. And so we've got all of our bands prepared, and we're going to be starting to attach them to our pattern. So let's work on the neckband first. The neckband is slightly smaller than the neck opening, just like we would have on a shirt. And in order to attach this properly, we're going to go ahead and mark the quarter points on the opening here as well. The quarter points are not where our seams are. They're actually slightly different, but to find them, you line your seams up. So here we've got like the 2 sleeve seams aligned to each other. And so essentially we're folding the chest and the back pieces in half. And we're going to mark those halfway points on the chest and the back. And so we've got our halfway mark there. And if you want to, you can also add their quarter points on the opposite sides. So we've got all of our markings, and we're just going to take our neckband and we're going to align all of our other markings that we had previously. So here we go. We're going to attach the front to the front, the back to the back, and then the quarter points. And now the neckband is slightly smaller than the neck opening. So when we go to sew, we are going to want to stretch the neckband ever so slightly to be able to make it flat against the neck opening. And it'll just pull it a little nicer towards the puppy that you have wearing your top. So here we are matching all of our quarter points. And so here's our neckband. And we're just going to sew along this entire opening, stretching the neckband ever so slightly. But don't stretch the neck opening, just the neckband. And we're going to stretch it out so it all lays flat and it all seams together nicely and cleanly. All right, our neckband is attached, and all you have to do is flip it up, and you are good to go. If you want to, you can top stitch the neckband down or just leave it. It's up to you. We're going to repeat a similar step with our armbands. So grab one of our armbands. Oop, that's a neckband. And we're going to align the side seam here and the halfway point on our sleeve opening. And we're going to, again, slightly stretch the band while you're sewing so it lays nicely, because the band is slightly smaller than the sleeve itself. We've got the band attached. You're just gonna flip it away from the body and it is good to go. So we're just gonna do the same exact steps with our other armband. And that band is now sewed. We're just going to flip that away from the body. And all that is left is the bottom band here. And I would highly recommend making sure we get all of the quarter points correct on this, because the bottom band is actually a 1-to-1 ratio. So we need to make sure that we're not having to stretch anything anywhere that's not necessary. So lay your pattern and match these two side seams, and that allows us to be able to find the front and the back seam here for 2 quarter points. And then it's a little funky, but you're gonna open up your pattern and you're gonna match up your 2 marking points to find the quarter points on the other sides here. So you just line them up, kind of fudge them around a little bit so you find the exact quarter. We're gonna add a clip there. We're gonna head over to the other side and do the same thing, matching those front and back points, and then just kind of ease these edges against each other so you find an exact quarter point. And then we're going to add our band. So we already quartered the band part, and we're going to just align everything to the quarter points that we have found on both the band and the bodice. So here is the front. We're gonna have the quartered back part. And then the 2 quarter points on the sides. Again, it is a 1-to-1 ratio, but because there's a curve to it, you will need to ease the band ever so slightly into all these curves. So if you want to add more clips, by all means, go for it. But we're going to be sewing all the way around. Maybe we can see it better if we do it this way. Nope, that we can't. We're going to be sewing all the way around this whole bottom band with a 1-to-1 ratio and a 1/2 inch seam allowance. We have sewn along that entire edge. So again, we're just gonna flip the band away from the bodice. And if you want to, you can top stitch this or you can leave it. I would definitely recommend a little pressing, and then go and stick it on your pooch, because they are going to be the next best dressed person in your house. Next to you, of course. I hope you enjoy this pattern so much. It is one of my ridiculous dreams, and I'm glad that it came true. And I am greatly looking forward to seeing all the puppies in our newsfeed that are wearing the new Doggone Raglan, which again is a freebie for the 2022 holiday freebies from Patterns for Pirates. From myself and the rest of the pattern crew at Patterns for Pirates, happy holidays, and can't wait to see what you make.